Hey guys. Oh gosh, I don't know how these Mondays get here so fast, but I'm glad to be back. And I hope that you're still listening. I actually just had something happen right before I came on camera. Um, so I'm going to tell you about it. I have this customer of mine, right? And we have something called Project Broadcast. It's like a business phone number, and it's where we send out like promos and things like that. And people have given me their numbers for this. They're in our back office and things like that. So she had sent me like 4 different messages about buying her Pampered Chef or her Tupperware or whatever she's doing. And the last 2 that she sent me today were back to back. And one was like, it wasn't even spelled correctly about it being the last day. And then another one was like, buy now. Like just, I don't know, coming across real needy, real pushy. And I get that, right? I mean, I'm in sales. I get it. But I sent back a reply that said, please stop. And this girl sends me a message. Why the fuck in all caps should I stop sending these? I'm one of your customers. And then she started to say something about I had a seizure. I don't care. You don't get to talk to me that way. I don't have to be talked to that way. I spent a lifetime before I met my husband being spoken to that way, being called an ungrateful little bitch from my mother, or oh God, Brighton's dad. One thing he would say to me all the time was, whatever else and fuck it. That's what he would say. Sorry for all the F-bombs. Hope your kids aren't in the car. Your kids shouldn't even be listening to this anyway. And then like Gage's dad, stupid fucking bitch. I mean, that was like those are like the 3 things that if you said to me, I would lose my mind, because those 3 people said those things to me so much. So when someone comes at me with an F-bomb, first of all, I would never speak to anybody like that. And when people send me messages that say, please stop texting this number, my response for this last one, I sure will. Merry Christmas. You know, I mean, it takes nothing. It's free to be kind to people, y'all. So like, I was like, God, I wish that didn't even happen. And then David with Kimber Creek Media, the guy that sets all this up for me and makes me look so good in all this lighting, he's like, I think you should talk about it. I was like, I am pissed off right now. He's like, you should talk about it. Like your adrenaline's going. I'm like, holy shit. Like, really? Why would someone speak to you like that? So I went in Facebook and I blocked her. I left her success chat, which is where I'm her coach. I blocked her and deleted her off of Project Broadcast. Like, wow, that's how you treat people that say, please stop. And you know, she hasn't purchased anything from me in probably 3 years or more. But I've always kept in contact with her and always checked to see how she's doing and asking how she's doing. That's just a punch to the gut. It's a huge punch to the gut. I think to me, that's as bad as like being ignored. Like if you send a message to someone that says happy birthday or, hey, how's it going? You know, I'd love an update on where you're at. Or, hey, I miss you. It's quiet. Is everything okay? And people just ignore you. It's so fucking rude. Like, you see the message, just say something. People are like, oh, well, I opened it while I was at work and I couldn't respond. Then don't open it. Like, if you're in the middle of something and you're busy, don't open the message. I don't understand why people don't understand that concept. I really don't. I don't, because even when people send me marketing things, God, this totally took a turn. This is not what I was going to talk about today. But even people that send me marketing things, I'll look at their stuff and I'll respond with a no thank you, but just ignoring people, like, it's rude. There was another one that happened. Like, if someone sends you a birthday message, just say thank you. I mean, if someone asks how you're doing, I'm okay. You know, there's just, I don't know. There's so much out there. And the flip side of it is there's so much good out there, right? I sent this girl a birthday message the other day, and she came back and she said, thank you so much. I just asked her, you know, if she had anything fun planned for her birthday. And she said, thank you so much. You know, we're at the beach. Her and her boyfriend her husband were in Puerto Vallarta, and they had this like beautiful swanky place. And I was like, oh my gosh, this place is beautiful. Where are y'all staying? And anyway, she was just like, thank you so much. I love following you. I love watching what you're doing. You know, I love what you post. So, you know, keep it up, sister. And that's the kind of stuff you want to hear. Like, it's so easy to be nice to people. And then you have these people that are just hateful. Hurt people, right? It's always been that way. But man, I almost want to tell you who she is. But I'm not going to do that because that would just be vindictive, and I'm not that person. If it was me 10 years ago, I probably would have done it. So I'm back to my big water jug, because with that little cup, I found myself not drinking enough water. I was like salvaging it so I didn't have to go fill it again. So I'll just take the big Bubba mug, and that's what I'm going to drink. Anyway, so to just change the subject a little bit, God, that shit floors me. Be respectful, be nice to people. It's not hard. Like, you never know what someone's going through. Like, I just didn't send stop. I said, please stop sending these messages. Like, I can beat a dead horse to death on this, because it makes me, it infuriates me when I work so hard to be so nice and kind to people, and they're mean back, or they ignore you, or I don't know. It's hurtful and it's hard. And that's why a lot of people quit. That's why a lot of people quit this, because they take it personally. They take it to heart. They can't handle it. So I'm not going to quit. Somebody like that is not going to make me quit what I love to do. So I guess I just have a stronger mindset. And speaking of mindset, I want to talk a little bit about a place, a time in my life that I haven't talked about yet. So when I was 14 years old, 14 years old, we lived in Dallas. I had a boyfriend named Richard that was about 19, and he reminded me of Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. Like, he was cool. Or I guess maybe you remember him from Metallica, but, you know, red hair, like, he was just a cool dude, you know, heavy metal guy, drove a muscle car. My parents hated him and the fact that he was 19. I was really mature for my age. I've always dated people older than me, except for one. No, yeah, like once. Anyway, so we've moved into this house. My mom's been recently remarried, and I was crazy. I was a 14-year-old out of control little girl. Thought I was grown. So I heard my mom talking about, I don't know what we're going to do with her. She's out of control. And I heard her talking about sending me away. Well, screw that, right? So I packed a bag. I packed my cigarettes. I know, I was a smoker back then. Packed my cigarettes. I packed some clothes. I called Richard. He was going to come pick me up. And my parents were like, you're not leaving. This is my stepdad, Tommy. You're not leaving. And it turned into this fight. And I chased my mom around the house with a baseball bat. And my stepdad got in the way, and I ended up hitting him with the baseball bat that night. So my parents called the police. And maybe I talked a little bit about this at one point, but they called the police, and the police came, and they escorted. My parents didn't want me in the police car. Never to this day been in a police car for being in trouble. Thank you, Lord, for that. I'm kind of reliving this as I'm talking about it, so bear with me, please. So the police escorts us to RHD Memorial in Richardson. That hospital is still there, and they have a psychiatric unit. I was put into the psychiatric unit and it was weird because I walked in, my parents were making me go, but it was under the assumption that I was going in to just talk to a counselor. I was just going to go talk to somebody. Yeah, that's what I had told my kid too. Shit. So I get off the elevator, and there's I look to my right, and there's all these white coats around this hospital bed with straps and shit on it. And I was like, dang, what is that for? That was for me. They thought I was going to lose my shit, and they were going to have to strap me down. And, my mom's been through that, because it took I don't know. I hate needles. So it took them like 7 nurses to hold me down when I was 5 years old to give me a booster shot or something. So my mom already knew how that was going to go. But anyway, I walked in. I didn't know what that was for. So I walked in, and I walked through these metal doors, and my parents were behind me. And I was walking with this other person, and my parents were behind me. And I hear this click, click. Like a door shutting. And I looked behind me, and my stepdad is in this little bitty square window with a shitting grin on his face, waving bye to me bye, we just locked your ass up. We're going to leave you here and have some peace at home. Oh my God. Okay. So, listen, I had been through oh my God, I was such a bad kid. I had, at the time they did this, I had been through counseling and stuff with my brother, because he'd been through drugs, and he went through a drug rehab, and we had been through counseling as a family. So I knew how this worked, right? I could go in, and the first 3 days you're on suicidal precautions. Okay. So that means that whatever room you're assigned to, your mattress gets drug out in the hallway at night. So you sleep under bright lights such as these that I'm sitting in right now. That doesn't go for very much sleep, for good sleep for sure. So I am sleeping on a mattress out in the bright hallway. I could not go in the bathroom by myself for those first 3 days. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm sure they've had some kids do some drastic things. But I didn't poop for 3 days, because I'm not going to poop with somebody in the bathroom with me. That'll never happen ever. Maybe when my kids were babies and they wouldn't go away, whatever. And then I could not take a shower with the shower curtain closed, and had to have someone sitting in front of me in a chair watching me take a shower, which, now that I think about that was pretty jacked up. But I guess for fear I would, I don't know, commit suicide with a shampoo bottle, whatever. So when you first get in there, you're on suicidal precautions. Well, I got off of suicidal precautions in the first 3 days. I'm smart. I know how to play the game. You can't, I knew how to bullshit. And basically the kids that went in there, and I'm very observant too. But the kids that went in there that didn't talk, Well, they stayed on suicidal precautions. Well, who wants that shit? Like, I want to like take a shower without anybody watching. I'd like to poop, please. That'd be nice. And I would like to sleep in a dark room. So I started talking about my life story, and the thing was, there were kids in there that were doing heroin, and drugs are drugs, either way you look at it. But at that point in life, I had done acid a couple of times. I had smoked weed a couple of times. Well, a lot of times, and drinking. So I wasn't like it, I was 19 before I got into the cocaine. And speed. So I wasn't like in the hard stuff. But I was out of control. I did not give a shit about anybody but myself and what I wanted. So 3 days on suicidal precautions, got off of those, ended up with privileges that most people don't have within the first, week that they're there. I remember my mom bringing me a bag of cherry popcorn. There's a place called Popcorn Papa, or it was, in Dallas, and they had like cherry candy coated popcorn. Is my favorite thing in the whole world. Well, she brought it to me because like your parents could come visit you, and they poked holes all in the bag because I might suffocate myself with a plastic bag. Like, I get it, right? I mean, there are kids that did stupid shit, but I was not suicidal in the least bit. The girl that was in the facility with me, I'll never forget. Her name was Courtney. And she had like they make you go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and you have to admit that you're an addict. And I wasn't an addict at that point. I was just a kid, right? Just playing around, having fun. I mean, sometimes I think these facilities can screw you up more than you already are. So I still have the book, like the Narcotics Anonymous book that they gave me while I was in there. And it has like something written in it. I should have gotten it. I should have grabbed it and brought it so you could see. But I spent 10 days in the psychiatric ward. Maybe I was 14 or 15. I might have been 15 already. And I heard a friend talking about this place called Daytop. And I had overheard the staff talking about what happens, and my roommate Courtney talking about, what happens, and basically what they were doing to these kids at the psychiatric place at RHD Memorial was they were sending them to Terrell. Are you kidding me? Okay, maybe some of them needed it. Maybe like 1 or 2 out of the 15 or 20 of us that were there needed that. But like, Courtney was scared. She was scared to death that they were going to send her to Terrell, like to the psychiatric facility in Terrell. We weren't crazy. We weren't psychotic. We were just out of control girls. That didn't really have parents, I guess, that were super involved. At that point in my life, my mom was super involved in her own world. So, makes sense. So I didn't want to go to Terrell. And I mentioned to my mom that I think all my adrenaline just left me because I don't know if y'all saw that happen. For those of you that are listening, like, I don't know, just a calm came over me and I got real sleepy. I have no idea why, because I have trim sticks in that cup, so I should not be sleepy at all. Anyway, I told my mom I didn't want to go there, so I told her about this place called Daytop. And she looked into it. It was not far from where we lived. So that was my next step. Daytop was a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center, but it was an outpatient facility. It was in Richardson, Texas. And I met a lot of drug dealers there, a lot of drug addicts. I did drugs with the other kids at Daytop. I met a lot of bad kids. I met another friend of mine, and I believe her name was Jessica. I wish to God I could find her on social media. I don't remember her last name. I just remember she lived in some apartments off of Highway 30, and we got in a lot of trouble together. But let me tell you really fast. My friend Courtney from the psychiatric facility, from Brookhaven Psychiatric, we actually hung out, and I have a picture of us from when we were like 15 years old. We went to Six Flags together. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we got out of the crazy house and our parents let us go to Six Flags together by ourselves. Are you serious? Right? I mean, we looked real cute in our Reebok high tops and our socks, our slouch socks, and our, oh God, I had biker shorts and a fanny pack and a tank top. Like, I'll have to find this picture one day and bring it. I don't know how. Maybe I'll post it in, I'll find it and post it in the, God, I can't even talk on Instagram. I'll post it because that's too good not to post. I'll remember to do that. So anyway, we went to Six Flags. Crazy. There's no way on God's green earth that I would let my kid do that. So anyway, I met this girl, Jessica, in Daytop, and we were running buddies, and we got into so much trouble. Like, her mom locked us out of the house one night because we didn't come home on curfew. Oh my gosh. But this Daytop facility, like, all the kids were allowed to smoke. 15 years old. This was the beginning of my freshman year of high school. So I was in high school at Robert E. Lee here in Tyler, but I did not go there until my second semester of my freshman year because my first semester I was at Daytop. This place was crazy town, y'all. Mike Gomez was the director, and I remember him, super raspy voice dude, smoked Pall Mall, unfiltered. Like, and the people from here were like, they were from New York. They were a different culture, different world. Just different. And so, like, if you got in trouble, you would have to sit in a chair for like 12 hours, like sit in a chair. You didn't have cell phones back then. You didn't have nothing. You sat in a chair for 12 hours. The hours we went was like from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our parents picked us up at 5. I had a boyfriend in there named Shane. He was so not good for me, but I always went for the bad boys, like the worst ones. Oh my God. So you'd have to sit in the chair when you got in trouble. And then they had these things called like marathon groups. And they would last for 3 days that they would put you through. So you would basically be in a room, no window, 2 counselors, 12 kids. Everybody smoked. So the rule was you had to go around. Look, I can't make this shit up, okay, y'all? This has really happened. So the rule was only one person could smoke a cigarette at a time. And the plan was that we'd group all day, and then once we got tired, we would group for an hour, sleep for an hour. Group for an hour, sleep for an hour. And I got about halfway through that, and I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing it anymore. I am out of here. And the doors weren't locked. We were free to leave. That was the one thing about Daytop is if you wanted to be there, you had to be there. I remember there was a girl, I always remember from this Fleetwood Mac song every time I hear it. But her name was Rihanna. And I was like, where'd you get that name? She's like, my parents like Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks or whatever. So anyway, little side note. But I got real tired of that, being in that group, like these marathon groups, and it was like luck of the draw, right? If your name got picked, you were going in. So I called my boyfriend at the time. I don't know. Randall, I don't know if you listen to any of this stuff. I just sent you a happy birthday message yesterday, but I remember this. I remember me calling you and you coming in your station wagon, pulling up in the parking lot, and I ran out the door, got in your station wagon, and we hauled ass. Oh my God. I had to sit in the chair when I came back. I had to sit in the chair for like 3 days, like 9 to 5. That wasn't 12 hours. That's more like, I don't know. What is that? 8 hours, 9 hours. But sitting in the chair from 9 to 5, I had to eat my lunch there. I could get up to go to the bathroom, and that was it. And that was like the punishment. That was the chair. And it's so funny because I was in there in March, September, October-ish of, I want to say, 90. And it's so funny because I was looking up some stuff online about this and seeing if anybody had posted anything about Daytop. And there was a guy that posted something that he was in there in March of 92, and he still talked about the chair. So it's interesting. Like, it brought up a lot of different memories and a lot of different feelings. And I thought at the time when I left there that I wanted to be a counselor, like a drug and alcohol counselor. That's what I wanted to do and help other people. I had no idea what the rest of my future held at 19. But I got in trouble there. I got in trouble for being inappropriate with boys and getting busted for it. And that was the thing, is you weren't allowed to date anyone or have any sort of sexual contact with anyone. Well, you put a group of freaking like 13 to 17-year-old kids together, boys and girls that are intermingled all the time. What do you think's going to happen, right? It was crazy, but you had to be secretive. Oh, but one of my favorite things about this place, I just remember this. You could drop a slip on somebody. I'm not kidding you. Like, sometimes I wish life worked this way. Like, I wish real life worked this way. So you could, if you were pissed off at somebody, you didn't get to confront them then. You had to wait until group, right? Until like twice a week, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, they did like a confrontation group, is what it was called. So you would drop a slip on somebody, keep the peace with everything, right? And then they would pull the slips, and everybody that had a problem with somebody, they would put them into a group together. Kind of brilliant, right? Kind of smart. And then you work it out in the group with a counselor there to help you work through your feelings and work things out. Brilliant. I mean, why can't we have confrontation groups in real life? Like, you keep the peace, and then you have a therapist there to help you, work it out with somebody. I mean, God, that was kind of nice. But I got in a lot of trouble there. I was in trouble all the time because I didn't care what people thought. I didn't want to listen to what adults had to say or tell me what to do. I was just wild. We also, one of the things at Daytop was we went to school. We had a teacher, and it was a joke. I'm going to tell you, algebra comes about, well, back when I was in school, because I'm so freaking old now, algebra started your freshman year in high school. Well, when I got to 9th grade at Robert E. Lee, Miss Rocha was my teacher. Some of you might know her as Debbie Jones. She passed away several years ago. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world. She was like the swim Nazi. That's what everybody called her. She taught my kids how to swim, and her words were, "Do you want them swimming or do you want them happy?" And I said, "I want them swimming." She said, "Then you're going to need to leave." Okay. Well, guess what? My kids were swimming within 5 days. It was awesome, and they loved to swim. But Debbie, Miss Rocha, that was her maiden name before she married Jeff. She actually was my teacher. And when I should have known all of the things, like factoring is a big deal in algebra. And so when I was in my second semester of my freshman year and I started her algebra class, she was like, "You don't know what factoring is?" I'm like, "No." So they moved me down to pre-algebra so I could actually learn algebra, because I don't know what kind of grades we got or what that teacher did in school at Daytop, but he didn't teach us anything. I don't recall, really. I don't remember any of that stuff. Or maybe I just didn't do the work. I don't know. But I understand why my parents put me there. And it was my suggestion. But it's kind of a mind game, you know? And I don't know. I didn't get any help really that I needed. I just got told I was an addict and we need to talk about our feelings. But I don't recall coming out of there any different other than I need to figure out how to hide this shit better so I don't get caught. So I don't end up in a place like that again. Which brings me to another little story real quick. Do I have time? Now we have a few minutes. When we were at the juvenile detention center last Wednesday, there was a kid there and it was like his 7th time that he'd been back. And we were talking about Matthew 14 and all the parables and it being really hard to understand what Jesus was talking about and stuff. I know this is taking a drastic turn, but there's a point. And he started to say something and he was like, no, never mind. You wouldn't understand. He was talking to Holly. And I said, and I stepped up and I was like, why do you think we wouldn't understand? He goes, you just wouldn't understand my code. And I said, and Holly's like, your code, like your code of how you live. And he was like, yeah, you just don't understand my code. And I looked at him and I said, why? Because we're cute white girls? You don't know anything about me. You have no idea. Like, you have no idea the things that I know and the things that I've done. And I got up in his face, not really like in his face, but I got up to him and I just said, you know what, baby? Because, he's 17 years old. He's still a kid. And he said, what? I said, the only difference between you and me is that you got caught and I didn't. Like, I got smart about not getting caught. I don't know how I didn't get caught, y'all. Seriously. And he just looked at me and I said, I should be in federal prison for the amount of cocaine that I ran between here and Jacksonville, Texas at some point in my life. And his mouth just dropped. And that's the thing is they don't understand. He goes, oh, so maybe you do understand. I said, yeah, I do understand the standards you live by and your code. I do get it. And then he talked to us some more. So it was good to like open that up. It's good that I've been through these things, that I've experienced these things. So I can tell these kids that, I've been there and done that. And, I never went to jail, but I don't know. Psychiatric is probably just as bad. And I try to block all that out of my life because that 10 days was terrible. And that 6 months at Daytop, I remember this kid like getting in trouble because he would go out and lay in the parking lot. And I wasn't like that. I had smoked pot and tripped acid a couple of times and drank some alcohol. I was super sexually active though. That was probably my bigger problem than anything is I was looking for love in all the wrong places, trying to fill the hole in my heart from not having my dad, But there was a kid that would go out in the parking lot and he would get busted like huffing the mufflers, like the tailpipes on cars to get high off the exhaust. What? Are you kidding me? Crazy. So, we've all been through it and we've all been through different stuff in different ways. And Daytop was a part of my life. Brookhaven Psychiatric was a part of my life. It doesn't mean that you can't have more. It doesn't mean that you can't do better. It doesn't mean that you can't overcome. It doesn't mean that you can't fight for a better life. Do not lay down. Okay? There's bad things that are going to happen in your life. I don't care if you're 5 or you're 85. There's bad things that are going to happen. But don't lay down and let it run over you. Stand up, get back up, dust your ass off, and fight. You have a choice, And even through all the stuff that's ever happened to me, I've been a fighter. I've always been a fighter. And maybe some people aren't built like that, but I also think that's a choice. What would happen if you put up a fight? What would happen? Would your life change? Would it get better? It'd probably be harder for a little while because it's easier to lay down. It's easier to lay down and cover your head with the covers. Just let life go on. But man, the things that you get out of and the things that you gain by fighting, don't think about the things that you're gonna lose or be denied, right? Or how hard it's gonna be. Look at what you're gonna gain in your life from being a fighter. There are so many things, and as we go through this and little bits and pieces that I remember, I mean, like Daytop wasn't even on my list of things to talk about until something triggered it last night. And I always ask God, like, please give me the right words to say to help change a person's life. Give me the right words that help give someone else hope. That's what this is for. That's what this is about. And I don't know if any of you noticed, but I'm going to point it out anyway. Sometimes you just want to do things a little different and be a little different. And, I've kind of changed up how I wear my hair a little bit, not so like 1980s high on top of my head. And I haven't decided if I like that yet. So y'all let me know. Changed up a little bit of my makeup today. Sometimes you just want to do something different. I even wore, okay, y'all, are y'all ready? You sit down. If my family knew this, they would trip out. I even wore a different perfume today. Like, I've never worn this lipstick out of the house. I put it on my face and I wiped it off every time. And I thought today, why not? Why not wear some bright ass colored lipstick and some different perfume and just go be? Just do what I want, right? Rather than what I think everyone is expecting of me, just be me. And I like to change up my style and my look a little bit sometimes. And, I wish you could see my high top Converse. Danny hates them. He thinks they're the ugliest shoes on the planet, but look it up. It's a white high top Converse. They look like a mix between like Doc Martens and high top Converse. But they're on like a platform. They're elevated. They're really cool. Anyway, they're my favorite. You like to change it up every once in a while. The perfume thing, I've worn the same perfume since before my kids were born. And it's actually a perfume that is discontinued. It's Giorgio Armani Mania for women. It's discontinued. The last time I bought it, I found it on eBay from a guy in Egypt, and it was like $200 a bottle. And I think I bought 3 or 4 bottles of it. And I'm down to like 2 bottles now. So eventually I'm going to have to find a different perfume. But I am such a creature of habit. And I guess that's my point of this, right? I am such a creature of habit. Like, do you notice the subtle changes that I make? What do you think about them? Like, give me some feedback on these podcasts. I would love to know what your thoughts are. And remember from the beginning of our conversation, please be kind. If you don't have anything nice to say, just pull a Miss Lomax and a Penny Lomax and just don't say anything at all. Just smile, right? But if you have something that you want to hear about or talk about, let me know. I want to know those things. I want to know what you guys want to know about me. Anyway, I'm going to cut this off. Appreciate you very much. Thank you for listening. Shout out to Kimber Creek Media for making this possible. Gabe, I appreciate you very much. You're pretty amazing. And David, thank you for everything you do and dealing with all of my little idiosyncrasies. It's good, right? So you can find Allison Unfiltered on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff. So thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you soon. Peace out, homies. Bye.